is Aaron Reimers. I work here at the Artisan Center, and it is my pleasure to get to introduce Kate Guth for our next installment of An Artist's Journey. She will be talking tonight about building your brand. And if you like what she has to say and want to learn more, go to our website, and we do have some upcoming classes that you can take individually, or you can take all 5 of them for a discount.
Thank you for introducing me. I don't think I've ever met you in person, so it's nice to
No,
finally meet you.
nice to meet you.
um, my name is Kate, and I am so happy to be speaking to some of you artists from the Artisan Center. I have done some work with NWTC for a number of years, so I really know Carrie at the Artisan Center, so she asked me to speak, so I'm really flattered by that. You might be wondering, why am I a good person to be talking to you about your personal brand? So just a little bit of background of myself. Currently, I am running my own graphic design and marketing firm. So I have a number of clients that I have on retainer that I help with work when they're with their strategic marketing from time to time, and I also help them with graphic design. It's really fun to watch to help businesses grow and to watch them scale up and achieve some of their goals that they're looking to do. When I'm not doing that, I do work full time at Green Bay Floral, and I do their marketing and business development, and I do get to make some really cool floral designs, and I get to work in the greenhouse, which is a lot of fun. And then when I'm not doing that, I do teach at NWTC. So I'm currently teaching a graphic design fundamentals class in the College of Business. So I have a very full life. I like to tell people are always worrying about me burning out. Um, I feel like I'm being used to my full potential. So there was a time in my life where I did not feel like I was being used to my full potential, that I was kind of shoved in somebody else's box or their corporate idea of what I was supposed to be or what I was supposed to do with my life. And through those years of working some of those jobs, I've really learned how to build my personal brand and kind of own my brand and not feel bad about it. So I am going to share my screen so that I can share the presentation I've for you guys. Everybody see that? Awesome. Okay. So this is An Artist's Journey, Building Your Brand with me, Kate Guth. And starting off, just a nice quote that I think is appropriate for this class: a brand is a voice and a product is a souvenir. So that's by Lisa Gansky. And in this presentation, I'm going to talk to you about how to build your personal brand and really the difference between a personal brand and a business brand, because there's definitely a difference. We're going to help you define your brand and then create a buyer persona. That's an interesting thing that I do with a lot of my clients. Who is our ideal customer that we're actually looking for? And then we're going to write a key positioning statement, how to get you to fit in with your customers and how to really market your brand. So what is a brand? Well, there's the difference between a personal brand and a professional brand. So first, there definitely is a difference. We don't want to confuse the two. Personal brand is your unique package. So that's your character, your traits, and the skills that make you who you are. And we're going to express that brand through our personality and our areas of expertise in a way that others can understand. So you might be asking why a personal brand matters. Well, there are several reasons why your brand is really important. And your brand, in basic terms, is your reputation. That's going to be your impression on others and how others perceive you. So think of your brand as what you want to exude versus how people think of you. So a professional brand is the identity of an individual business. So this brand itself can be affected by the people that work there or the things that they do in PR or what they do in the community or within, the environment. So that's really the difference between a professional brand. So two very different topics. So how to create your personal brand. So these are the steps that I'm going to walk through with you guys. Defining the personal brand is to really figure out who you are. what do you want to be known for, which is better known as your mission, being authentic, sharing your story, and developing valuable relationships or partnerships in the networking space. So, figuring out who you are can be a difficult journey for a lot of us. If you feel lost or you haven't felt like yourself, you're probably not alone. And one of the easiest ways to figure out who you are is, I kind of say, like, start peeling back the layers of the onion. My Shrek quote. I like when he says that in the movie. Um, but peeling back the layers of your identity to discover really the path that led you to your happiness and your success. So, the first step I would encourage you all to do is to take a personality test. My personal favorite free test is from 16 Personalities. Now, the first time I was asked by a manager to take a personality test, I was a little confused and taken aback, and I was like, "Okay, so why? What's wrong with me? Like, why do you need me to take a personality test?" So I took the test just to make my manager happy, and in the back of my mind, maybe this is just the way that I think. I was waiting for the other shoe to drop, like, okay, well, you do this and that, so that doesn't really work for us, so you'll need to change. So in the back of my mind, I was always thinking I needed to accommodate everyone else, and I always felt I needed to change who I was to make everyone else happy or comfortable. And I know we each carry around our own experiences, our past, or sometimes we like to call it baggage. Our individual personalities are really compiled of our experiences as kids and adults. And all of these memories that are lurking in the back of our brains or triggering that prehistoric fight or flight response. Maybe it's our desire to be perfect or to make someone proud of us. As an adult, it is okay to question our personalities and ask ourselves why we act the way we do or why we react the way that we do. And in what environments do we really succeed best? Now, I'm not telling you to sign up for therapy or to overhaul you. One thing I want you to task yourself with doing is to ask yourself, why do I do that? Or why do I procrastinate? Why do I doubt myself? Why do I need everything to be perfect? When you start seeing a pattern in your behaviors, ask yourself why, and maybe you can dig deeper into unlocking your true self. So, your mission, there are a lot of big and small companies that have mission statements. So, this is the statement that drives and defines their idea of success. Many businesses share their mission on social media or in print advertising. Maybe it's posted inside their company, they have it up on a wall or they put it in a billboard. Why do you think they scream their mission from the rooftops? It's because they really want people to know what they stand for. And their mission is their foundation. Everything their company is built on. Now, you don't have to have 100 employees or multiple locations to write a mission statement. It's really, you can be done just for yourself, and it's really what you want to be known for. And when someone hears your name, what image will pop into their mind? So, writing a personal mission statement can be done in 3 easy steps. So, jotting down your skills, telling us if you're a talented photographer or you're a gifted acrylic painter or you love to sew. Especially focus on those things that you like to do. Then the second step is we're going to take some advice from the last slide and kind of describe our personality. It can be kind of be known as your MBTI rating, how you function by yourself and with others. And once I did my personality test and I read the description of it, I will proudly tell anybody any day that I am INFJ because I feel like it really describes who I am. I'm introverted. I'm a feeling person. Um, i- if you want to know more about me, know about an INFJ, and it's really explainable. So, know more about your personality. And the last the third step is really think of your values. Do you have any big dreams that you want to accomplish? Any goals? And you really want to put in there your passions. So just a general example of a personal mission statement may be to create visually stimulating art that will evoke emotion and wonder. Now that's pretty vague because it doesn't talk about goals or personality, but that's just kind of a stepping point for you to create a mission statement. So being authentic, living your authenticity and revealing that side of yourself can feel risky, especially now in our picture perfect world with social media. Some people are trying too hard to fit in or to be liked and to be accepted by others. And sometimes the images which are shown on social media are just a mirage rather than a reflection of who we really are. And as we try to balance our lives on this teeter-totter of our inner and outer lives, how do we become confidently authentic? Being authentic means that you act in a way that shows your true self and how you really feel. So instead of showing people what you think they want to see, you show them your whole self, genuinely. And rather than showing people only a certain side of yourself, you express your whole self genuinely. And to be truly authentic, you really need to know your true self, who your true self actually is. And this does take a lot of self awareness and mindfulness and self acceptance. Society definitely likes to put people in boxes, and sometimes those boxes can feel like they're too small. Personally, I have felt confined, shackled. Sometimes I've only felt allowed to share certain sides of myself so that I wasn't maybe offending anyone or shocking anyone or blowing my cover as a quote professional. I've lived it and I've breathed it, and it is extremely exhausting and stressful and unnerving. I had the opportunity. I've done so much research on imposter syndrome because I lived and breathed it, and I read the book Quiet by Susan McCain, and her imagery that she puts in that book of how we've been programmed to fit in ever since we were kids, and how we acted the way we were taught to act is something that not a lot of people realize until they're an adult. And the way that you were taught to act as a kid is not usually the way that makes you feel like your authentic self. So it's time for us to just be like, okay, I'm going to stop fitting in. So if you could float outside of your body and just watch yourself like you were a fly on the wall, what would you see? How do you act when you're relaxed or stressed out? When you're motivated or you're really passionate about something? Is that person living by somebody else's standards, or are you showing who you really are? At one time, I did feel like I was living two different lives. I actually had two different Facebook accounts, one specifically for me personally, like my personal friends and family, and another one for my professional side. I had my at work personality and I had my at home personality, and the two rarely mixed, God forbid. So free yourself, love yourself, show your tattoos, have an opinion, speak up, share your passions. Getting in touch with your authenticity can take some time, and I know because I've been through it. So have compassion for yourself, and if it takes a little bit, don't worry. It may take a little bit for you to feel comfortable doing those things. Sharing your story. So once you get in touch with your authenticity, another great way to build your brand is to share your story. So this image is of one of my dear friends and one of my clients. This is Julie Guile. I don't know if anybody knows her. One of her big reasons or her mission for her company is to help connect businesses' brand story in a visual way. So she likes to take photographs of behind the scenes at companies, otherwise not typical photos that you would see. So her message is telling versus connecting your story. This was a recent blog that we did. So sharing our story, each of us has our own unique story that has really molded who we are and why we do what we do and where we want to go with our lives. Sharing our unique stories helps us vocalize our past or what's currently going on with our lives and where our passions are going to take us. When you share your story, you peel back your layers and allow people to take this little itty bitty glimpse into your life. Sharing your story can be scary at times, maybe feeling like you're putting yourself out there without a parachute. Not telling you to go and dig up the dark, hairy secrets that you keep locked away. It's really more about sharing your why. And there are many benefits to sharing your story with others. One benefit of sharing your story is making a connection with someone who may have a similar story to you, or you're sharing your story and someone is listening and you might be giving them a whole new perspective on something that they never would have thought of. Sharing your story is a great memorable way to develop a relationship too. A great example I can give is I was attending a chamber networking event meeting, I don't know, a number of years ago. And I was sitting at a table full of people who I didn't know, which tended to happen a lot. But because of my job, I had to go and do this networking. And I am an INFJ, so don't typically like to meet a whole lot of new people. But I was sitting at this table and next to this girl, and we started to chat a little bit about the topic that was at this presentation. And then we eventually started talking about our jobs. And I was working in a job that I wasn't in love with. And I started talking about my passions, which are marketing and graphic design and teaching. And over the course of the next couple of years, I had changed my jobs, I finished my bachelor's degree, and I was putting myself out there as a potential teacher for NWTC. And actually, I was hired as a teacher a month ago and was very happy that I had achieved this dream that I'd strided for a really long time. And my friend from that networking meeting pulled me aside a couple weeks ago and told me, "Hey, I remember that day we first met and how you told me you wanted to become a teacher. I'm just so proud of you that you made it happen." Now, like, I look back at that original conversation and I'm really glad I had shared that part of myself and my story with her, because she was cheering me on the entire time to help me hit the goals that I had set out for myself. Owning your truth can be extremely helpful, not just for the person you're talking with, but for you as well. So by verbalizing your story, you may find yourself thinking of things and maybe putting together the puzzle pieces and making connections on your own about your history and your future potential. So telling your story will also help you connect with potential customers. And by opening up and sharing your story, you're laying really the groundwork for building a bridge with someone. So allowing them to connect with you on a deeper level. Sharing your story also helps you to find your voice. If you have ever experienced something terrible, you may have shut down. My dad passed away a number of years ago, a couple of years ago, I should say, and I was really close with him. And I was his caretaker for a number of years. And when he passed away, it was almost like a part of me had passed away. And it took me a while to get through that grieving process, but I can easily identify that a piece of me shut down in that process. Maybe if you've been influenced by people who told you how to act, you may have silenced your voice to fit in. Again, been there, done that, been in the job where they wanted me to wear a blazer and they wanted me to attend all these networking events and not to talk about my personal life and not to be who I really am, to be just this role model for the company. And I felt so confined and so constricted. The more you share your story, the easier it will become, and it won't seem as risky to tell people about your story the more you tell it. So this has helped me know myself better and has allowed me to explain myself better to others. So you might be asking, like, where do I start? What do I include in my story? What is too much to share? What's the right amount of information to share? My tip to you is to understand your audience. Really, who are you talking to? Is it a potential customer? Is it a person you met at a gallery or on the street while you were being a vendor? Is this a new friend, someone you got introduced to at an event? Who is this person and what information will be important for them to know about yourself? So since we have limited time and I don't like putting anybody on the spot because I don't like being put on the spot, I'm going to share my story and give you kind of a starting point. So my name is Kate and I currently work at Green Bay Floral as a marketing and business development manager, consulting local businesses on my marketing and graphic design and teaching graphic design at NWTC. So some people think I am crazy for doing so much, but I tell them that I feel very fulfilled and used to my fullest potential. And I decided to quit my corporate job over a year ago to finish my bachelor's degree. And I'd been taking classes for a number of years, and I found myself not accelerating in my classes to graduate because I was just so busy at work. I had the opportunity to speak at a conference on the topic of imposter syndrome, and that is when I decided I was not living my dream. Imposter syndrome is something I've felt because I wasn't comfortable in my job and not happy about the direction in my future. And I had people kind of breathing down my neck and telling me I wasn't doing a good job. It was that time that I looked at my passions and skills and determined I needed to speed up my studies to graduate so that I could apply as a part-time teacher at NWTC. I said adios to my salary, my benefits, my retirement plan, and happily took a job which allowed me to have more flexibility to achieve my goals, not the company goals. In November, I graduated from Southern New Hampshire University with my bachelor's degree in marketing, and I couldn't be happier with where I am. I teach graphic design part-time, I coach students, I encourage them to be creative. Coaching business owners and helping them with their marketing has also been really extremely rewarding, and watching my clients grow and succeed is a blessing. I'm always looking for opportunities to meet local business owners and help them achieve their goals. So that in a nutshell is my story. So as my life changes, so does my story. So if you dissect my story, you learn what are my passions, which is graphic design, marketing, and teaching. And you also learn about my personality. I'm a change maker. I don't wait for opportunity. I make opportunity for myself. And you can also hear my mission. I love to help others succeed. All lasting business is built on friendship. So many years ago in a previous job, I was asked to start attending these networking meetings to connect with other working professionals. And my personality style is INFJ, and I'm introverted, intuitive, and I feel I can read people really well. And I've had my moments being cornered by those fast talking networkers who don't really care who you are, but they want your business card to add to their bottomless Rolodex or whatever. And I love meeting real people. And what I experienced in networking felt nothing more than corporate people in blazers and loafers who looked down at you because you weren't on their level. And I don't deal with that well. And at my boss's request, I started going to these events. So the only way I could make it through these events was looking for others who seemed as uncomfortable as me. So these people were the loners, the people who didn't have a large following. So taking the time to attend events and identify people who are just like me helped create some really cool, valuable relationships, which have lasted years. So these unique relationships are active and working relationships, partnerships or referral sources, people who send customers my way or talk about the work that I've done or get me speaking engagements like this. Because I'm a marketing and graphic design consultant and a public speaker, I often receive referrals and requests in this manner. So you can't really put a price on that with networking and getting leads like this. So I'm not going to tell you that you need to start attending networking breakfasts or coffee meetings or large award events. But what I'm telling you is to find like-minded people outside of your circle. So maybe these people, maybe they aren't an artist, but they may have a great connection with a realtor or an interior designer. Maybe they aren't into sewing, but they may have a connection at a clothing retailer. Today, with the abundance of technology at our fingertips, I think everybody's heard like the degrees of separation are so incredibly small, it's ridiculous. So you never know that the next person you start a conversation with may help you land your next big gig. And remember that mission statement we talked about? Well, this is a great time to introduce yourself and present your mission to this new person, captive audience, right? If the thought of networking makes you feel uneasy, I totally understand. There are other ways you can get your name and personal brand out into the universe. Are you dedicated to a nonprofit that's in the area or some other kind of endeavor that's going on? Maybe you've experienced hunger and used a food bank, or maybe you had a family member who was homeless. Maybe your mom was a survivor of breast cancer. You can think of something that has impacted you or your family and start thinking of ways how you can give back. So this may start as an idea to paint and maybe donate a picture to a shelter, which helps homeless women get back up on their feet, or offering art therapy classes to people who are going through chemo treatments. Maybe you donate a portion of your sales to a nonprofit organization that's close to you. So those are just a couple of ideas if you're not into attending the meetings or you're not sure how to bump into new people. Doing stuff in your community is always a great way to start. So here is a recap of developing your personal brand. So figuring out who you are, what do you want to be known for, your mission, being authentic, sharing your story, and developing those valuable relationships, partnerships, and networking. Any questions about personal brand? Anything anybody wants to share about personal brand before I jump into buyer persona?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Would you relate the mission statement to an artist statement? Is that
Oh, good point. I think it would be similar, but I would tie it more back to you personally and what your goals are, what your personality is. I mean, your artist statement is probably generally about your work itself, correct?
yes,
Okay.
it is. I think I've wrapped them up together though.
Okay. And
So
that's good
maybe
too.
okay. Okay.
As long as you have a little bit of you in there and what your personality is and like your goals, I think that's a good thing to do.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else have horror stories like mine about like being told who you need to be and how to dress and how to talk and how to present yourself where you felt like you weren't living your own life? No.
I did it to myself. Does that count?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well,
I
that's
told
tough.
I, I've told myself, I don't know, for the better part of like 15 years that I wasn't truly an artist because I didn't go to art school. I know it sounds ridiculous, but I've done that to myself, so I'm over that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, giving yourself your own version of imposter syndrome. Like, who are you? Like, there are some days where I look at myself too and I'm like, I don't know how I got here, but I'm good at it. um, and it's just like it is deep down believing in yourself or what your standard is. I mean, I went to I think I went to some networking meetings, and I don't know how many times I would tell people that I had an associate's in marketing and an associate's in graphic design. Because people would be like, oh, so what university did you go to? And I had that feeling like of, wah, wah, like now they're really going to look down at me because I didn't go to a 4-year college. I'm working my butt off and I am good at what I do. And I always felt ashamed of that. And I just I shrug it off and I'm like, I'll own it. I'm proud to say like I'm NWTC alumni and the things that I've done. So
Trisha and Kate, this is Marissa.
hi.
Hi, thank you so much for putting this on. I was looking forward to it. And I can relate to the both of you, especially Trisha. I have a high school diploma and I've always loved the arts. And if it wasn't for friends who were like-minded, as you mentioned in one of the slides, who kind of just pushed me to say, um, do what you love, put it out there, do it for yourself first. And the sad part is that I'll turn the camera on so you guys can see. I probably have a lot of light behind me. Let me see if I can. Let's see. Okay, there I am. Hi.
Hi.
Um, so um, I did it for myself initially, but I do get quite a bit of validation from people saying they like the art or that they'd like to purchase the art. And then you run into pricing, like how do I price when I don't have a degree and am I going to be judged on that? And so the journey of an artist is hard because for the longest time I did not call myself an artist. I would pick any other word, artisan, enthusiast, anything but an artist. And just finally now I'm saying I am an artist because I create art. So um, I can completely relate with the educational part, especially when it comes to the fine arts versus, um, I don't know whether to call it modern arts, but I do like house portraits, so in watercolor. So I do a lot of urban sketching and watercoloring. So not really defined as fine arts. And so there's always been that struggle, is it real art? Because it's not fine art. So a lot of struggles and challenges that I think we put on ourselves based on what we see online and what we do to ourselves anyways. So before we even see what's online.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that as when I started quoting prices for work. And I would undervalue myself because I didn't feel like my work was good enough, or because I didn't have the big 4-year degree as a designer that my time wasn't worth that much. And I've had to shake that off. Um, I do even have clients that question me now, um, like if I'm worth it, and they will ask existing clients that I have, and it's nice because they can back it up and say that my work is worth it and has changed their business. So um, it was something I didn't want to. I felt horrible doubting myself. Like, am I doing the right thing? Like, why didn't I just get my stuff together in high school and figure out what college I wanted to go to? I had no idea what I wanted to do then. I would have wasted so much money. I'm glad I waited to go to school.
For sure.
Yeah. But living in like owning your story, it's been a really important part of me, like almost developing myself as a professional. So when I say like I live two separate lives, like I I did. I lived two separate lives. I even have a tattoo on my arm about it. I call her my alter ego. Like there's definitely two sides to me. There's one side that people see all the time, and then there's another side we call it the dark side. That's like my my personality. So I have hunting dogs and I drive a Harley, and these are things that I was told, like in the corporate world, don't talk about those things because that might scare people. So I definitely had two sides of me, and now I am totally okay if somebody doesn't like those things that I'm telling them about myself, then that's okay. Then I'm not friends with mean people, or I don't do business with bad people. So if we're not gonna get along, or you don't like that side of me, then that's okay. But I'm not gonna bend over backwards for people that don't who don't like me.
For me, it's been that hidden side is I suffer from mental health, and that's still such a taboo, which is sad in 2021 to talk about. And art has been such a healer for myself as well as for, you hear it all the time how music, any kind of art, performing arts and visual arts is so good for people that suffer from mental health. And that's part of my story is as long as I can be a mental health advocate. And now, as I watched your slides, it's how can I put those two things together?
Yeah.
Whether it's donating for, some art pieces of when I'm not feeling my best to a center that deals with maybe therapy for people with mental health. But for sure, there's a taboo with that. And it's like, okay, I'm an artist and I love to share this thing. So absolutely, there can be nothing else wrong with me. You just identify with the arts part and keep the other side hidden.
Mm-hmm.
But I've slowly but consistently and constantly have become more and more like, yes, this is part of who I am. It doesn't define me, but it's certainly part of me, of who I am. So
And thank you for sharing that and being open about that. Kind of funny. When I quit my corporate job and I went to the greenhouse and I was talking to the owner who was dating my friend at the time. I had never really known him. But when you talk about mental health, and I've almost had this like, come to Jesus moment of, okay, I'm in the same boat that you might be in. But I've learned that I have anxiety issues and I have depression issues, and I know that I need to be medicated to be at a homeostasis. And I know that, and I'm good with that. I'm good with telling people that I do have a high functioning anxiety. But I was sat down with this owner and he didn't really know me he didn't really know me that well. And I let it all out. I'm like, this is who I am and this is how I operate. This is the type of work environment that I'm really good at. This is how I can lead your team. And I just laid it out, and we are so successful. We have such a great team and we're so successful. And I'm glad I laid it out there because we're just open and honest with each other. Like, this is how I function and I'm not going to lie to you. And it's great.
well, thank you for sharing. I mean, I know it's hard to do it in this day and age, and especially when everything is through social media. So selling your artwork or just even putting everything out there it's like you said, it's separating these personalities of here's me, I'm an artist, this is what I do. And then this other part of me that either keeps me from sometimes creating the content that I want to, or if I don't post for a while, sharing part of that story is kind of comes full circle. Oh, I get it now. And I can relate how I've done some postings where it's like, this is what I would love to be doing. And I have all my art supplies out and ready to go. But then this is where I'm at. And it's like my bed with my dogs or in front of the TV. And it's like those two things, like wanting to do something that you're passionate about and sometimes not being able to. So um, I think it's very relatable, and I think people are more interested in like, well, how do you do it and how do you get motivated? And it builds those relationships.
It's you being vulnerable. I mean, I love Brene Brown, and just having that little bit of vulnerability and just being real. It really goes a long way.
For sure.
I am going to jump forward now, and we're going to talk a little bit about buyer personas. So this is something that I do with my clients, and to create a buyer persona, you're really going to dive into your ideal customer for your product or your service. So the first way to do this is to identify maybe some demographic information, which could be their gender, their age, where they live, what type of job they hold, do they have a family, their education, their income, job title, and then we kind of go into some mannerisms. So once you've got your demographics down, you might think of, okay, what is their demeanor usually like? Are they a happy person? Are they a go-getter? Are they creative at heart? Maybe do they donate to a local charity? How do they prefer to communicate? Do they like meeting people in person? Do they like seeing art in person? Do they go through email? Do they like visiting websites? And really, the last part is their goals. So, what are their primary goals, your customers? Is it to furnish a house? Is it to build their gallery? Is it to do something for a client? So, thinking of those primary and kind of secondary goals that they have and their challenges. So, the challenges that they might come into are maybe finding a reliable artist, or maybe they're having a hard time finding a variety of art to display. So, when you look at all of that information you collect, you can ask yourself, how can you solve their problems? So, creating a buyer persona won't just simply happen in this quick exercise. You will need to think about your existing customer base, maybe your dedicated customers or your dream customers, and how you can meet their needs as an artist. And creating a buyer persona will help you stay focused on your branding as your art business grows. So buyer personas, they might seem really scary to come up with, but they're relatively simple. And in the big scheme of things in marketing your business, we always, when you're marketing, you're trying to, what is the solution that you are selling to solve the problem? So if some of you are selling to hotels, or if you have an account with like a hospital where you do art pieces for them, or maybe it's even just something smaller where you might loan some of your pieces to a realtor when they go and do photo shoots. Some of those things. Think of who your ideal customer is, how they act, what their goals are, what challenges they have, and how you can solve their problem. So, how to market your personal brand. So we touched a little bit on social media. We talked a little bit about, I forgot all this stuff that I want to, put together in an art piece, but then I feel conflicted and I don't want to do it. Sharing even that stuff, your vulnerability on social media, can be really engaging for others to reach out to you. Blogging is also a really good thing if you have a website, or if you just have a blogging platform. Blogging is a great way for you to improve your search engine optimization on your website. So using keywords. If you are an acrylic painter, or you use certain types of paintbrushes or certain types of canvases, using those keywords in your blogs will help you get noticed. Whether it's a podcast or just doing a recording of what you're working on, or maybe how you're feeling today, or what is your new muse, or where's your inspiration coming from. That's all great ways to talk about your personal brand. Having professional photography too is good. And I know that I've talked to Carrie a little bit about this. So I had mentioned Julie Guile before, and this is one of her photographs that she took of a client. So I feel like this picture of the client really exudes her personality. Like you can see it, like her face is just lit up and she looks so happy. Having some nice photography taken of you or your work that you do can also make the difference in building your personal brand. Networking, if you feel comfortable going to meetings, if you feel okay striking up a conversation with somebody new, that helps. Community partnerships, as I mentioned, if you want to do something for a homeless shelter or for a food bank or something that you're really dedicated to, that can also put your name out there and start building that brand for you. The one thing that if I you can walk away with anything today is consistency is key. A lot of people think, oh, well, if I market myself or I do this one thing or if I do one podcast or one blog, things will get better. And consistency, being on social media, if that's what you want to do, if blogging is what you want to do, or podcasts, just being consistent with what you're doing and keeping it up, you can reap some really great rewards if you are consistent with your marketing. So this is the end of my presentation. We are a little bit early. As mentioned earlier, don't miss the other Artisan Center workshops. So the next one we have coming up is Business Plan Basics for Artists. And then I'll be doing one on strategic marketing plans, how to sell more art online, and connect, engage, sell, social media tips for artists. And then my absolute favorite, the Introvert Survival Guide to Networking. So that one is going to be the last one. That's on June 17th. I hope to see some of you at those other workshops and get to connect with me and learn a little bit more of some of the areas that I'm really good at. Before I hop off here, I do want to open it up if anybody has any questions, anything that you wanted me to go into a little bit more. If we want to share some more horror stories, I'm all for it.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I'm not an artist by paint or anything. I am a crafter with sewing and homemade cards. And I go to like craft fairs. How do, because you said create a buyer persona, how do I know who to reach and how to reach them once I'm there? Because I do mainly pillows and tote bags, and not many people go to buy a pillow at a craft fair.
So who are your clients that you have? I mean, you might be looking at this a different way. So to you, your customer might actually be the people who are booking the craft shows instead of thinking about the real end user. So,
Okay.
do you apply to be in these,
Yeah.
to be a vendor? You do. Is it something like, well, anybody can get in, or is it
Yeah,
something where they have to pick you?
No, it's usually anybody that can get in.
Okay.
As long as you pay the fee and do the registration and stuff.
So when I think of being at a craft fair, usually the things that are the most sought after are the unique items, or in your area it would be, okay, what's a hot print right now, or what's this cool fabric or a cool finish that you can put on a bag. The pillows with the sequins, like those were a ridiculously huge thing last year. But trying to maybe think of trends
Okay.
And that would be something that would help you connect with customers.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello, this is Joyce.
Hi, Joyce.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Hi. I have a question. So when you talking about the imposter syndrome and content. So I'm not an artist. However, I am looking to coach. It's not sure narrowed down my area, but I guess feeling like, well, how do I go about my sharing the information that I literally got from other places? And yeah, yes, I could give them credit, and I would, but how do I make it my own so I don't feel like you they can just go read about it somewhere else? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand. So through the course of, I guess the best example I can give is with my bachelor's degree program. And there are a lot of papers that I had to write and different programs that I had to put together. So I kind of put together my own version of a marketing plan for businesses that I work with, kind of a worksheet that I have them go through. And it was compiled from a bunch of different, it might have came from different places. It's not like I cut and copied and pasted everything, but I'm like, okay, this information is really important. This is important. This is important. And I, to avoid plagiarism, and I understand what you're coming from. You don't want to say like, hey, well, I got it from this book, so why don't you just read this book? Putting it into your own words, it will take some time. I've had to, you'll probably go through your stuff and redo it. If you have coaching worksheets or things like that, you'll redo it as you go because you'll figure out a better way to do it. And the more you do it, and the more you revise it, the more it will become your own. So it's just kind of getting your first draft out there and then starting to revise it.
That makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. So
And
just
then
start.
another question. Oh, go ahead, please.
Oh, I was just saying, yeah, it's putting it down on paper and being like, okay, I want to talk about this, but I also want to pull in this, or this is how I feel, or this is what I've seen from this, and then it will become your own.
Okay, thank you. That makes a
Mm-hmm.
lot of sense to me. That really helped clarify clear that up for me because I've been stuck in writing because I want to start out with some blogs and really just feel like I would just been stuck thinking, well, it's not my material. But that when you're talking about gathering information, and I'm used to making I've been in college too, so I know what you're saying. You're gathering information, but then you're kind of editing it so that it's more like your take on it.
Mm-hmm.
That's helpful.
Yep. Absolutely. Ideas have to come from somewhere. And even in
Yeah.
blogs that I write on my personal business page, I might go off of a quote or I might find a statistic and then I will talk about it myself. I'll always credit who it came from. But you kind of have to you have to start developing your own ideas around that stuff.
Yeah. Makes sense to me. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did have another question about the blogs. So, those are like another, like, I was not sure even where to find, like if I want to speak to executives in business, I'm not even sure how to find where they're at. That makes sense.
So that would I would encourage you to take my Connect, Engage, Sell, the social media tips for artists, because there are different social media channels or different opportunities out there with technology to connect with the right people that you want to sell to. So I spend a lot of time
Yeah.
on LinkedIn because that's where a lot of my clientele is. I don't spend a lot of time posting on Facebook or Instagram. I'm looking for the business owners that are looking to grow. So I think there's some strategy that we can help you work out there, but that would be a class I'd recommend to you.
Is on social media.
Yep, that's the one that's on June 10th. Connect, Engage, Sell.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. How was that, Aaron?
Perfect.
Sweet.
Yep. And I just want to thank you for all that great information. I know I'm looking forward to all of those classes. Thank you for everybody for showing up tonight, and hopefully we all got a lot out of that. So, thank you.
Yep. Thank you. It was nice.
One last question. How do we sign up for those classes?
If you go to the NWTC Artisan and Business Center website, you can register for classes on there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, maybe I'll see you guys in the next one, which is Business Plan Basic for Artists on May 13th. If not, hopefully I'll see you around. So thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody have a good night.